Nervous habits. As the name implies, a nervous habit is a specific behavior that an individual will engage in when faced with awkward, anxious, uncomfortable nervous situations. Nervous habits are extremely common, and this may be due to the fact that they are believed to diminish the amount of nervousness that an individual will feel at that time. While there aren't any serious negative consequences physically for having a nervous habit, there can be social consequences. Individuals may be teased, bullied for certain nervous habits. Others may blame themselves and have negative self-images of themselves because of their nervous habits. And other nervous habits are just extremely distracting. For the past 40 seconds, I've been rubbing my head constantly. And while I'm rubbing my head and talking at the same time, you're focusing on the rubbing of the head. And that's distracting. That's taking away from the meaning of what I'm trying to talk to you about. To be honest, rubbing my head used to be a nervous habit of mine. Whenever I'd meet somebody awkward, somebody I used to know, somebody I didn't want to meet, I would rub my head. And it's not a serious nervous habit, but it is extremely distracting, especially when I'm trying to talk with somebody important. I got over my nervous habit. So today, I'm going to help you get over yours. There's a specific set of procedures that we're going to go through today called habit reversal procedures. And with these habit reversal procedures, and with a bit of time, we can reverse your habits. Awareness training. Awareness training is the first of the 5 procedures we're going to go through today. Awareness training is comprised of 2 main aspects. The first, you have to know what your behavior is. You can't change what you don't know. The second is you have to know in which situations that nervous habit is going to occur. For some of you, you might be able to just go back into your memory and think of all the situations that occurred. And that's awesome for you guys. I wish I could do that too. But for me and all the others, we're going to have to use a baseline survey. A baseline survey is very simple. Ideally, a baseline survey is going to be about 7 days. You can do it for shorter and you can do it longer. And for that timeline, for that baseline, you are going to have to carry a small notebook and a pen with you. And every time you engage in that nervous habit, you have to write down what time and in what context and situation that behavior occurred. And you're going to have to do that every single time. And after that whole week, or however long you do the baseline survey for, you should hopefully see a pattern that occurs. For me and my nervous habit of rubbing my head, every time I met somebody I didn't know well, somebody important, somebody I didn't want to meet, I would engage in that nervous habit of rubbing my head. And after I did my baseline survey, I saw the pattern. And the pattern was that it happened every time I didn't feel comfortable with another person. With my family, friends, not once, but with people I've felt uncomfortable with, it happened a lot. Once you are aware of when your nervous habit occurs, you're going to be able to create a competing response. A competing response is simply an alternate behavior that you will engage in instead of your nervous behavior. Ideally, a competing response is going to be natural, something that is hard to notice. For example, if you're at school a lot and rubbing your forehead is your problem, instead of rubbing your forehead, your competing response will be to hold your pen really tight. It's going to look natural because you're at school, you're holding your pen, no one's going to notice that you're engaging in your nervous habit. The other important aspect is that you want to use the same muscles as the nervous habit. If your habit is rubbing your head and you want to create a competing response, you're not going to stamp your foot because that's got nothing to do with your hand, nothing to do with the current nervous habit that you engage in. So to start off with your competing response, you're going to want to engage in it after you've already engaged in the nervous habit. So once you've already scratched your head, you rub your head, you're going to hold your pen tight for about 1 to 3 minutes ideally. That's just to start off with. Once you're used to holding your pen, straight after you've engaged in your nervous habit, you're going to want to encourage yourself to engage in that before you reach your forehead. So that requires a bit of time and training. So basically, instead of engaging in this nervous habit, when you're going up to rub your forehead, you've got to remind yourself, no, I don't want to be doing this anymore. And you want to grab your pen and engage in the competing response. You need to encourage yourself to generalize, to be able to engage in that competing response in every situation. Along with the competing response, in unison with it, is going to be social support. Like most things, in order to be successful, you're going to need support from peers and from significant others. So if you're at school, you might want to tell your parents. If you're in a committed relationship, boyfriend, girlfriend, husband, wife, you might want to tell your partner. Get them to remind you. If they see you engaging in your nervous behavior, tell them to remind you, hey, stop that nervous behavior. You need to engage in your competing response. You don't just need reminders, but you also need encouragement and support. So when your partner, when your significant other sees you engaging in that competing response, or sees that you have reduced the amount of nervous habits you engage in, they'll give you some praise for it. Along with social support is self-management. Your significant other isn't always going to be with you. So you need to be able to manage yourself in the absence of them. They're not always going to be sitting next to you, reminding you and praising you. You need to be able to encourage and remind yourself to stop engaging in that nervous behavior and to engage in the competing response. You're also going to have to praise yourself. You can, look at how much you used to engage in that nervous habit and then compare it to now and praise yourself for it. Alex, awesome job, mate. You used to do that 10 times a day and now it's only 5 times a day. You're a champion, mate. Along with self-management, you're also going to need motivation. So apart from all this praise and positive reinforcement you'll get from yourself and others, you need to motivate yourself to continue engaging in this competing response. For some people, you might like to try continuing on from the baseline survey. So once you've done the baseline, you continue on and see how much you engage in that behavior each day. And hopefully, you should see a reduction. That's pretty good motivation if you ask me. For others, you might like to remind yourself of an embarrassing situation or something inconvenient that happened because of your competing response, your nervous habit, sorry. Somebody might have laughed at you once for seeing you have chewed your nails. Somebody else might have laughed at you for ripping up all that paper or rubbing your hair or twirling your hair. There are all kinds of embarrassing situations that could happen because of this nervous habit. For others, you might want to give a little gift to yourself, a little prize at the end of each week if you've reduced a certain amount. Of course, that will require you to record every nervous habit you engage in, but it's also extremely rewarding. So in summary, the 5 steps that you need to engage in to reverse your habit is awareness training, knowing what your habit is and when it occurs. The second is competing response. Engage in a response alternatively to your nervous habit that uses the same muscles and is very natural. The third is social support. Everybody needs social support. The next is self-management. You need to be able to manage yourself, not just rely on social support. And last but not least is motivation. You need motivation not only when engaging in the competing response, but afterwards to continue to reinforce that competing response. I hope I helped you guys today. Good luck with all of you engaging in this habit reversal training and best of luck.